Hello everybody and welcome to round 10 of the Tail Racing Ring Runners here in the GT3 class. It's the penultimate round now and the last round that people will have actually known about prior to the event, because next time out it's going to be Duck Week, which you can't drop and you can't know what car it's going to be until 30 minutes before the session goes up on the Wednesday evening. So that's all still to come, but it's the most famous category in iRacing, basically. The GT3 class here for us today, with myself, Ewan, and James Parfitt alongside me. In the championship at the moment, Pat Labrosse is leading the way in the pro standings, ahead of Rick Putnam with Corey Stas and Evan Crowder not that far behind. There is still one more drop week to count in before we get to the end of the season, though, it should be noted. Dave Mull is rounding out the top 5 with Dan Kosick and Jason Hightower tied for 6th, with Dean Diltz and Dave Hernandez 8th and 9th ahead of Matthew Mayer, who is in running out the top 10. In the AM standings, Scott Sadler's really started to pull away in these last few moments, and he's now 35 points ahead of Pat Mage, 45 ahead of Stephen Johnson. Chase Petterjohn and Jim Watchow round out the top 5, with John Amico, Neil Hessling, Houston Elliott, Anthony Solomon and Christopher Herron rounding out the top 10, although I did know that even though that Herron hasn't been here very much this season, he has appeared for this final round that you can know the car for here today. Jason Hightower is on the front row of the grid alongside Evan Crowder for this one, with Rick Putnam and Corey Stas alongside. Stephen Johnson is on pole in the AMs ahead of Dean Diltz, with Dave Hernandez and Dan Kosick on row 4. Pat Mage and Scott Sadler are 2nd and 3rd in the AMs, rounding out the top 10. Dave Mull and Tim Warchow are on row 6 ahead of Anthony Solomon, who is ahead of Steve Goubet. Is Houston Elliott and John Amico next to Christopher Herron and Dylan Hessling. One thing very notable here, James, is that Pat Labrosse is not here, but his drop weeks are so strong that effectively he's going to score enough points that is equal to a 3rd place finish today. And so Rick Putnam, Corey Stas and Evan Crowder are all going to be fighting over those top 2 places to try and at least gain some points here today.
Yeah, they definitely are, and it's what they need to do. GT3's most popular class. Everybody knows them, everybody's driven them, and it should be a interesting one as well. Great mix of BMW, Mercedes, Ferrari, Porsche, McLaren. We've even got a Lambo. Yes, dear sir, we've even got a Lamborghini driven by Dave Mull, so fair play to him. We've got all classes pretty much on here, apart from the new Acura, which is not here, for a surprise.
It is a surprise, isn't it? Because it's the new car and everyone seems to be driving it in all the series I've been doing anyway. Oh, and it's raining. Oh dear. It wasn't raining on the grid, but suddenly I can see some raindrops falling down. Or is that...
No, you are right. No, you are right. It's raining.
Oh dear. Well, what do you do here? Do you come in immediately following the pace truck, or do you go round hoping that it's not going to be too bad? I think the right call is probably to go round, but it might be 8 minutes before you can come in again. Oh, this is a dramatic start to the day. Who would have thought that's coming? Dear, oh dear, this is going to be really sort of difficult stuff early on. And it's going to be a race of survival here. 45 minutes on the clock, but 4 laps as always here in the Tail Racing Ring Runners. And Jason Hightower gets us underway from the beginning already. Nobody comes in to follow the pace truck. I think that is the right call, although it's going to be 8 minutes of survival as we get underway for this race here in the GT3s. Hightower already weaving around. You need the tyre temperature, and unfortunately you're not quite going to have it on the way down towards turn number 1 for the first time. Crowder in 2nd place. Putnam's down the inside of Stas for 3rd as they go into this awkward first chicane. He's going to take the place, by the looks of things, Putnam ahead of Corey Stas. And further behind, Pat Mason is moving forward ahead of Stephen Johnson in the AM standings. In fact, Stephen Johnson is moving all the way down the field after qualifying on pole. Mason is up to 6th place overall, and that's Johnson. Not sure what's happened to him here at all, but he's got damage. That's right, he's had contact. And the pole sitter in the AM class has dropped all the way down to the back end of the field.
Yeah, he's broken. There's an incident with Dave Hernandez. I'll have a look and see if Stephen Johnson was involved in that one. I think Dave is currently still running, and he does look quite all right. So I'm not quite sure what Stephen Johnson does. We'll try and find it again as per normal in the replay run through at the end of the race. But 4 laps as per normal, and at the moment Hightower out in front, running away with it as much as he possibly can. Krautfield tucked him right behind. So great job from all of these guys here as well. I'm going to presume they're all on slicks. The reason I say that is the replay file will not send us what tyre compound they're on. But I have tried multiple times to try and see what tyre compound they're on, which is what we can do from looking looking at the tyres, but unfortunately, it's not quite going to be able for me to do that unless I do some fancy trickery with the camera, which we've seen doesn't always go well, Mr. O'Leary.
No, we don't want that again. Onto the north side they go. Jason Hightower is leading the way pretty comfortably here. But he is starting to kick up a bit of spray already, noticeably only from the right side wheels. Don't know what that's all about, but anyway, he's picking up a little bit of spray, not too much. Here's the conditions, by the way: 20 to 7 in the evening in May, which is quite late. It's going to get a bit dark. I'll say a bit dark because of the time we've started this race, and indeed the rain as well, combining to make it pretty dark a little bit later on. Stephen Johnson has returned to pit lane, so he's not in the lead, but he will be shown as such for a little while, as these guys now make their way up over the top of the hill for the first time. It doesn't look quite full speed at the moment. And there you go in the background, Rick Putnam. Putnam going for a big slide there, and he's in the wall, is he? He's going round for a big spin. On a day where Putnam needed to gain some points, he's the second place man in the championship. He needed to finish in the top 2. He spun round at the Floodplatz corner, and he drops all the way down to 14th early on here. Oh, and further up, between Sadler and Watchow, look at this. They very nearly had catastrophe there as they made contact. Through Schwedenkreuz they go, and it is Watchow who takes the place. That could have been a whole lot worse. Sadler backing off. I think he's got championship in mind. Just what a crash.
Yeah, I think so too. He was leading practice. He was very, very quick in practice, Scott Sadler. So I'm quite impressed how he's still in there. He's not as high as what I thought he would be, but considering his speed in practice. I'm just trying to see if I can get a shot of... Well, I can't really get close enough.
They're on dries.
They're dries, aren't they? They are on dries.
I mean, they're always going to be, because when they were spreading up, it was still dry. So, and that is watch out at slowing down quite a lot there out the corner for some reason. It's letting Dave Hernandez through. Might be a smart thing to do, actually, to let Hernandez go and then focus on your own battles on your own there, but a bit weird to see. Hightower leads, and Krautwald all of a sudden is right in behind him now. So two drivers who need some points from this one. Well, Hightower less because he's not really involved in the championship, but Krautwald certainly does. He's currently 30 points behind LeBros. He needs to finish in the top 2 today to keep his championship points situation alive. If he finishes outside the podium places, then he will be out of the running at the end of today.
Yeah, I think that it's really, really difficult, because as much as I would love to sit there and say, are we really over? Is it over now that obviously LeBros is not here and things like that? But then you sit back and think, well, it's going to be really, really close going into the final round. I think there's still 3, maybe 4 people that could be involved with this one. I think Stas has still got an opportunity. Krautfeld, Putnam, LeBros, all could be in there. And how this goes will really sum up what Duck Week's going to handle for us, because I think if it is that close going into the final round, well, we're going to be trying doing some maths, mate, and that's not always going to be easy.
No, we'll get that sorted indeed for Duck Week as these two make their way up to the top of the hill. Looks less wet here, I've got to say. Well, it's still raining, but there's no spray at high speed until they've gone round the corner, and now there is. So it's difficult conditions to really work out. And the crossover point around this circuit is going to be impossible. I mean, they're so long in between each lap that, you've got very little chance of getting it right, really. And every decision you make, you've got to live with for the next 8 minutes, which is not normal. That's 4 or 5 times longer than what you'd see on every other circuit. And even on a normal circuit, you can get it wrong pretty disastrously. The effects are just really amplified, multiplied when you're around this circuit, because it is just so long. This is the exact excitement that we can get from racing on the north side, and the weather brings to iRacing with this track. It can throw races on their head. I'm hoping that this, by the way, for the Nurburgring 24 in iRacing, it's going to be like this, and there's going to be weather, because that's going to be absolutely unbelievable.
Bonkers, I think, would be the word that I would look out for on that one. I think, right, and I'm going to say this in a in an experienced kind of way, that I think Evan Krautfeld is probably in the right car. I think the fact that the BMW can eat curbs for breakfast does somewhat minimize or mitigate the chances of him sliding. Now, obviously, there's still a chance, don't get me wrong, but as we know, the BMW does quite happily consume curbs as much as possible. So I'm probably airing that Hightower might have a go at this one and get this one. I'm a bit worried about Dave Mull in the Lamborghini, however. If he hits the curbs, he could be in deep, deep doo-doo.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit less about actually going on the curbs. I do think the BMW is going to be pretty stable and a good thing to have around these conditions, though. It's pretty impossible to spin, to be honest, until you get into the wet weather. In the dry, it's very, very easy to get on with. 5 of the 18 drivers who are in this race have gone for it, so I think the fact that it's the most popular does certainly suggest that that lines up. 2 of them are here, in fact, just in behind Dave Mull, Dave Hernandez, and also Tim Watchout, who is second place in the AM class at the moment, and Mull is really on the defensive here. The Lamborghini is not the car I'd want to have in these conditions, and it's being pounded here, and there's contact. Mull having to take the small carousel quite slowly. Hernandez getting into the back of him here, and Tim Watchout catching up as well.
Oh, Sadler's off.
Oh, wow.
But the wrong way as well. On Scott, round you go. Just coming out the small carousel. I can guarantee he's put the power down too early there. Hightower and Krautfeld are on the dotting home now. Krautfeld's pulled out. What sort of speed differential is he going to do on the way down under the Bilston coming into Tiergarten? Oh, edgy, edgy, edgy. Not this time for Evan Krautfeld. What's going to happen here? I think we could end up being 3 wide at some point.
I think the BMWs are pushing each other almost. And Mull has lost 2 places as a result. Dave Hernandez up to 7th. Watchout knows he's not as fast as Hernandez, but they've got a common interest down the front straight, or the back straight, I should say, whatever straight you want to call it. It's through on the Lamborghini, and Houston Elliott gets past Steve Coubet as well, or stayed ahead in 11th place. As they go into the final corners, they all carry on again. So you will notice this in iRacing. I'm sure people will have picked this up already. The conditions mean that there's a lot of spray that can get kicked up even before you have to put on the wet weather tyres. So it looks very odd, actually. You don't normally see this amount of spray in real life before you have to put on the wet tyres, but you do get it in iRacing. And so the fact there is lots of spray at the moment doesn't need to be a concern. It's really about what it feels like more than anything else. Dan Kosick, the only driver so far to come in at the end of lap 1.
Yeah, whether or not he's coming to put tyres on.
Oh, probably not.
Probably not. I think he wants the rest of his car, to be blatantly honest. So he's had an off, so we will try and find that as well for Dan. But he's probably going to want to put the rest of the car back to pieces. Krautfeld now got the window wipers going. This is if I had one criticism of the Tempest system, this is it. I think that the crossovers are a little bit confusing. I think the rain downfall doesn't match the track conditions. Although there's spray there and we've got rain, kind of, because I'm sure at certain points it's not actually raining. There you go. It doesn't look like it's raining enough to affect the dry runners. Now, the reason I say that is I did a Super Formula Lights race and it started raining on lap 12 and they still hadn't put the wet tyres on by the end of the race on lap 30. I don't think it evolves quick enough to realise, because if it's raining like it is now, we would see a wet track, people having to dive in, people starting to slide all over the place, and I think that's the only one criticism of the system that I've got. I think it needs to be a more sudden, crossover.
You say that it depends what kind of rain you have, because I have seen races where it's pretty much immediately dry to wet tyres as soon as the rain falls. So it very much depends how heavy the rain is, which is it sounds like in that race just very light rain, almost like drizzle, to be honest. And so even in real life you might be able to get away with dry tyres right to the very end. And actually GT3s do survive on dry tyres a little bit longer than some other cars, especially downforce-based cars like Super Formula or Super Formula Lights or prototypes. It's more mechanical grip, more heat going through the tyres. And you see this time and time again in real life when you've got multi-class racing between prototypes and GTs. The prototypes will all be in for wet tyres immediately and they'll be suffering, especially at low speed. The GT3s can carry on and dries in some quite heavy rain because they keep the tyre temperature, especially around twisty circuits. They keep the tyre temperature, and so they stay out there. And so it means you get these kind of situations here where they're not pitting, and even at the end of this lap they might not do. That was Hightower going very wide there, though. You can't afford to be driving down the grass. That does get very wet and very slippery. And so Jason Hightower very nearly found himself wide and into the wall there, but he carries on and holds on to the lead for the moment.
Yeah, Dylan Evan Cravel was tucked in. I thought he was almost going to hit him there. I was talking about Dylan Hesseling because I just read that he's had a moment. So, unfortunately, we'll again try and have a look back. Houston Elliott, John and Miko, Steve Cabay have all had little ta-ta-tas. So this little group down here, Dave Moles dropped down into the clutches now. He's been overtaken by Anthony Solomon. I expected a Liverpool livery, to be blatantly honest. When I clicked on his name, I'd be very surprised if he hadn't had one. But Mole, Elliott and Putnam all fighting out. But this is for 6th, 9th, 10th and 11th overall, mind you.
Did you notice, by the way, that Scott Sadler has got a Liverpool logo on his car this week as well?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, he's attached it to the side there, just in the front. So yeah, maybe they're all Liverpool fans. Cheering on the leaders, you know. It's like Man United fans cheering on Man United because they're winning.
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe that's why they've chosen them this season. Choose my team. Anyway, Rick Putnam moves up to the top 10. He's coming back through the field from his issue earlier on. Started the day 24 points behind, so he needs to finish in the top 5. Unlike unlike Staffs and Krautwald, who need to finish on the podium to keep their chances alive. Putnam needs to finish inside the top 5, and I do think that's still achievable. There's some big gaps in there, but he does seem quick, and there's a change for the lead. Meanwhile, Evan Krautwald moves up ahead of Jason Hightower, and so we have a new leader out of Bergvik. Looked like a mistake from Hightower, really, that allowed Evan Krautwald through. Yeah,
it looked like he did, and again, we'll have a look a little bit later at that one. But Hightower not giving up here currently, and probably the reason they haven't chosen your team, Mr. O'Leary, is probably because they've never heard of it.
Yeah, that's true. Badly.
It's what it is.
Oh, that was close to. Sorry, I thought Krautwald was going off the road there. He was going straight on briefly through the muck curve. He's got away with it though, and he holds on to the lead. This is one of the few battles going on out there on the circuit now, but you can certainly notice the times are slower, and so we're surely going to see some people coming in this time round. Whether it's the right call or not, I'm not sure actually, but we're certainly going to see some people in this time.
Oh, blimey, Dave. He was a little bit exuberant going through there. Unfortunately, he did lose a little bit of time. They were a little bit closer to him now. Hightower's made another mistake because he's now 2.2 seconds back away from Krautwald, and Hightower going backwards more than he's going forwards at the moment here. Not quite sure. Is he damaged?
No. I think it's just speed at the moment. Struggling to keep up with Evan Krautwald, who's driving well and staying out front for now. And 2 seconds is now the advantage for Evan Krautwald. I wonder whether we are going to see Hightower in this time round, because he's certainly seen the tyres going away from him this time round. Oh, he's sliding. Here it is. Yeah, he's definitely struggling with the conditions here. This is why he's losing the time. He's struggling with the conditions, and so this is going to be a pit stop this time round. I think halfway through the race, I think we're going to see some wet tyres here.
Yeah, I think we are. I think we're going to. Well, I think Hightower needs him because he's clearly struggling. What about Solomon and Watchow? Watchow also looks like he's struggling as he runs in a little bit deep, and Solomon comes up right behind him. I think you are right. I think they're on dries, and it's chucked it down on the grid. It could be time now, especially during lap 2. Where they're all losing a little bit of time. They're all starting to tiptoe as well. So it's like edgy feeling where it is. Don't probably get off the curb there, Tim. I wouldn't have wanted to advise you to do that. But he is clearly struggling in that BMW.
Everybody's struggling at the moment with these conditions by the looks of things. And Solomon here getting very close. He looks a lot quicker now in the McLaren seems a little bit driver-based as well, because Krautwald looks quicker than Hightower, though he's in a BMW. But this BMW not going as quick as the McLaren behind, so it does seem like it's driver-based a little bit here. Hernandez passed Mace on this lap, but that seemed like a pretty easy pass. Pat Mace is now in the 6th position, but he's in a gaining position championship-wise, so Sadler a long way down. This would become a drop week for him. Even so, Mace would still be gaining some points and keeping things interesting before the final round. Into the small carousel comes Solomon and watch out, and they're missing the carousel effectively on purpose there, just so they don't slip and slide around. So it's getting difficult now, and surely this is the time to come in.
I would have thought it would have been time to enter in pit lane. Misha and Hernandez, they're running side by side at the moment. BMW of Hernandez on the right. Misha McLaren as they're running down the Donga Ho. It's going to be neck and neck, I think. I don't think any man's really taking anything here. Past the public entrance. On we go once more. Going to drop under the Bilston into Tiergarten. Who's going to be brave here, Ewan?
Well, Mace just backing out there. Doesn't want the trouble. Krautwald and Hightower go past the pit lane. So they continue on out front. Is anybody going to come in here? That surprised me a lot, I've got to say. These guys are going a lot slower than... They're going 30 seconds slower than what they were before. This is a big difference in the speed at the moment. Through onto the front straight come the others as well. This is very surprising. Believe this, that they're 30 seconds or more slower than the lap which they get up to speed in, and they're still not coming in. A pit stop surely got to be worth it with 2 laps to go.
You would have thought so, wouldn't you? Nobody's coming. Nobody's in. Apart from, obviously, Dan Kosick has been in earlier on. Unfortunately, we can't see what tyres he's put on, but even he's come in and got repairs, and judging by the fact it's a yellow stripe, I'm pretty sure it still dries. Dave Mole's in, Chris Herron's in, so they've chosen to come in to pit lane. I'm going to presume they're both going to go. Yeah, I think so too. I think a couple of people could find themselves in the barriers here if they're not too careful with this. I'm going to presume they're going to both go up on the jack. Yep, there you go. Heron, yep, he's up as well. So, judging by that, I would have thought they're going to take tyres, but it has looked like it's stopped raining.
That might be why, yeah. Well, not sure how they would have known that. I guess looking at the forecast before the race and just thinking, well, got to survive this little shower and then carry on again. But, yeah, if that is the case, and it is going to dry up, because you're right, he's not using the windscreen wiper anymore, Evan Krautwald. Maybe that is the reason why. And it does look a bit quicker as well, actually. Again, we saw through the last part of the last lap, they were really struggling for grip. But all of a sudden, it does look, it's not dry weather yet. And it probably won't be for the remainder of the race. But it does look a little bit quicker than what it was before. Of course, Solomon's going to need his wiper because of the spray.
Yeah. No, I think that's the thing. I think they've ridden out the bit that we thought would cause them problems. They haven't reacted as quick as what we were expecting and not got in and changed. Ooh, steady, Tim. Watch out, got a bit of a slide on coming out of the corner there. And Solomon nearly hit him, but did a great job of trying to avoid him. But at the moment, I think Solomon's quicker than Watchow at the moment, but I just don't think he can get past him. He's trying to apply the throttle earlier, but the McLaren's just not loving it at the moment. Oh, Scott Sadler's got again.
Oh dear, Sadler's in the wall again. Well, it is going to be a drop week today for him. He will have known that for some time now. And he's just got to hope that Mace doesn't get too further up the field. But 6th place looks like it's going to be his limit. So he'll close in by about 5 points or so. And he will keep it alive, maybe, into the final round at the moment. So we'll check on that at the end of the day. But Watchow still in 7th ahead of Solomon and Elliott. These are 2nd, 3rd and 4th place battles in the AM class. And it is noticeable that Houston Elliott has caught up to these two in the last few moments in the early part of lap 3.
Yeah, he has. He's close right in, going into Arenberg now. Watchow's going to make it through. No real dramatics from him. He's looking a little bit more confident in the car than he was sort of 2-3 minutes ago, but at the same time Solomon is still sitting there looking like a lot quicker, but he isn't going to be able to do this on the run down into Admiral Forest.
Revs it out in 5th gear and decides not to even take 6th as they understeer through in towards the left-hander. That was pretty quick from Watch Out, with no real fear that he was going to end up off the road. So Solomon just able to keep up with him through the now 4th section. Now out towards Metzgersfeld, and Houston Elliott with a decent run here. He's actually closer to Solomon than Solomon is to Watch Out at the moment as they go through the fast left-hander. Now down on the brakes, the slower left-hander. Oh, Watch Out goes a bit deep, and Solomon nearly followed him, but they carry on. It does make overtaking a little bit difficult here, the wet weather. Needs to wait for a Watch Out mistake, and there are a few of them, but there hasn't been any mistakes that have allowed him through for the moment.
That's the thing, it's not been beneficial. They're not beneficial mistakes. Like Watch Out hasn't gone and hit the wall, or hasn't gone to put it in the barrier, or something, done something wrong. So the little ones going in deep, you know, the couple of times Solomon almost followed him in, like there, but he can't capitalise because he can't get the power down quick enough coming out of his McLaren. So unfortunately for him, it's looking a little bit rough. And one man it is looking rough for at the moment is Dave Mole, because he has had some form of drama, but he is still running, and of course he is on. I'm gonna definitely presume he'll be on wet tyres. If he's not, I'll be very surprised.
Yeah, so should have actually took note of his gap to Sadler actually, and kept an eye on it. But it does look like it's going the wrong way for Mull now, doesn't it? Because the rain seems to have stopped. But I've never seen a rain shower as short as that. So much so that you don't even have to put wet tyres on at any point, and you can just get away with surviving on the dries for the moment. But yeah, very interesting. On board now with Houston Elliott, who's pretty close to Solomon. But again, you're going to be very brave to have a go through the muck curve. I would have thought. Up the hill they now go, and Houston Elliott will have to stay behind on the way through this left-hander again. So Solomon holds on to 8th. Elliott has to wait for the back straight, as you would the dotting as you would expect, really. So that's where the action is going to be, and we'll see who comes out the other side with 2nd place in the AM class, as it will be.
Yeah, that's. Oh, I thought Solomon was going to put it round then, being on that. Oh, whoa, big snap from Elliott. There, are they going to go into the carousel? They are. Can they hold it in there? No. This should be Elliott's opportunity. He's going to get a run coming out the other side if he can. Oh, he just didn't quite get the exit of the carousel.
Yeah, running through the outside of the carousel is not quite the disadvantage that it is in the dry, because it is so slippery down on that banked section that it's almost a bit of a line to take. We saw it through the last lap through the small carousel because it was really raining. But yeah, it's a bit of a line to take. Rick Putnam, by the way, has been catching these guys, and he's now on the back of them. He needs a top 5 to rescue his championship season. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like he's going to manage that. His worst result at the moment in terms of what would become a drop week is just outside the top 5. So he would lose a further 7 points to Pat Labrosse. That would put him 31 points behind going into the final race. Mathematically possible, not likely for him to win the title from there. He needs every point he can get, and in the wall. Watch out in the wall. He goes for a big slide to the corner before Brunchen, and the pack is released because he's spun round into the wall from 7th place.
Yep, disastrous. And on lap 3, what is he looking like on the inside? Is he broke? Yes, we are right hand down to try and make that car rotate.
Oh.
So, yeah, he is.
I thought it was just pulling it to the right for the corner. We're not really going to get straight until the long straight, so we're not going to find out, unfortunately. But yeah, it looked all right to me, actually. I think he's okay. Oh, he's certainly confidence knocked, that's for sure. That might be the bigger problem. Whether he has got suspension damage or not might not be the important thing at the moment. His confidence has certainly been knocked, and he's taking it very easy now. It's a good job he's got a minute back to John Amico.
Yeah, he'll have to try and get it back again. Maybe he is all right. Maybe he might have survived in that BMW, and the BMW's taking a knock here as we jump on board with David Hernandez, who's just started his run down the Dottingham Hole. Want to pick up the Hightower has closed back in on Krautfeld. He is now half a second behind, so that is one battle we will keep an eye on. Pat Meach, David Hernandez, I don't think they're really going to swap at the moment. I don't think the drive is literally 4 tenths strong. However, it's starting to decrease, but I don't know if it's going to be enough for Pat. Is he going to get him just as he gets to the bridge, maybe?
I think he's too far back. Mesh is going to be a little bit frustrated with that because he's been quite close the whole way through, but even on the straight, not able to go through. Houston Elliott's going to be too far behind, Anthony Solomon as well, although they've been released from behind Tim Watchhouse, so they won't be too worried about each other anymore in the battle there for 7th place. So they go over the line, and the white flag's waving one more time round in these GT3s in a very interesting rain-affected race here in the Tail Racing Ring Runners, the GT3 class, the last race in which we know what the car is going to be before we get into the race, into the session. So that's very interesting to find out what's going to be Duck Week for the final round. And meanwhile, Don Amico is dropping down the field very quickly. I have a feeling he has been in some sort of problem. Dan Kosick overtook him not so long ago, and yeah, Amico is pretty badly damaged in that BMW at the moment.
Yeah, he is. I don't know if he's... Yeah, he is. Has he made the mistake coming out of the small carousel? Possible that he might have been coming out of the small carousel at that point. Chris Herron fighting out with Dave Mole in the Lamborghini. Herron edging, sort of being very careful on the throttle. Now, here he goes. He should be able to get him here, surely.
Yeah, you think so. It's kind of surprising that Herron is quicker than Mull at this moment, but anyway, that's the way round it is. Herron in the slipstream in the McLaren does have good straight line speed, and even though Mull is weaving around almost to distract him, he's not going to stop Christopher Herron coming through here. I wouldn't have thought. Anyway, making quite hard work of it, and you've got to be very careful of Amico there, who's still trying to get back with rear suspension damage. Oh, he's just clipped the curb there, Herron. That's not going to help him. And Mull will get wrapped around the outside again there. So straight line speed was in favour of the McLaren, and he did have his nose ahead, but under the bridge, he just clipped the curb and lost all his momentum. Yeah,
and unfortunately, he's going to have to try again. It's whether or not he can close up again. That's going to be the problem now. And what the situation will be for him. Is he going to be able to use the stadium section as such to be able to close in on Mole? But does he want to get in before he goes into Nords, which would really make a lot more sense as they're coming down into turn number 1. But is he going to be able to? That's going to be the question. And is Mole going to let him almost?
Pretty close as they went through the first chicane. And Kube right there now as well. So a 3-car battle here for 13th place. It will probably be a run up towards the line. Hightower did indeed catch up to Krautwald, by the way, on the end of that lap, as you mentioned. But as they make their way out of Bergwerk now, they make their way out of Arenberg, I should say. They are 2 seconds apart again. Not sure whether there was an individual error from Hightower or whether he's just a bit slower through the first part of the lap and a bit quicker through the last part, but it's very strange.
Yeah, well, we might be able to pick up. I'll try and have a look at where the white flag got released and see if we can find him. John Amico is back out in pit lane. He's come right out behind Dylan Hesselink. Christopher Herron is still... Kabay goes through. Does he go? Is he going to... Oh, just about hold on to that.
It's a good pass there on the outside. He was pretty late on the brakes. Got himself through on Herron. Now, can he keep it? And can he get ahead of Mull as well here for 13th place? That's going to be the question now. So make their way into the high-speed chicane. Just look pretty quick here, Steve Kube. Wonder whether Mull is suffering so much because he's on the wet tyres, really. I guess that maybe it's got to be the reason, because normally you would expect him to be quicker than these guys, but he's certainly not at the moment. There's no way in which you can look at this and think that Mull is quicker, sadly.
He is on wets.
Got big problems, and Kube now does move through on the outside line. That was pretty easy. Mull is struggling here.
Yeah, he is. He is on the wet tyres, though, which is, if it carried on raining, he would probably have been one of the fastest on the racetrack. But again, this same situation for him, it was always going to be tough when to go in on Nords to even think about it, because we could be raining one side, dry the other. So it's a very difficult thing, and you picked up on it and said, is there really going to be a good crossover point? Well, clearly not, because Dave thought there was going to be coming one, and then unfortunately it stopped raining, and now it's left him running around trying to find wet patches. But, you know, unfortunately it is one of them things. But you are right about Hightower. He's back in again on Krautfield, 7 tenths.
Very weird. Sure quite how this gap is going round like this in circles, but anyway, he's got to hope that when they get onto the long straight, he is close enough behind and he can give it a go. They're both going to be absolutely going for this race win. Krautfield trying to keep his title hopes alive, and he would be doing so in any of these two positions. Hightower just looking for a race win here this season. He's only won in the GT4 so far. He's not actually been on the podium other than that, so it would be a good day for him whether he finishes second or first, but he's definitely going to want the win here as they get into the carousel now for the final time. You can just see how slippery it is, and he's popped out. Just half out, really. He's got his left side wheels inside the carousel, his right side out, and he just managed to hold back Jason Hightower enough to hold on to the lead.
Yeah, he did. It's going to be the final lap fight here, and whether or not Hightower is going to be able to get Krautfield, he has sat in behind him for quite a long time. Since the beginning of the race, actually, if I remember correctly. He has been, isn't it? Yeah, there was a brief one, wasn't there?
Yeah. Hightower led the first lap until it really started raining, and then Krautfield has led the next two. But who's going to win the last one is or lead the last one is the big question. Hightower is as close as he's ever been here, and Krautfield's feeling the pressure. Goes a little bit wide there through the left-hander. More pressure heaped on him by Hightower, but no way through here at this section.
Yep. He's not going to have any way through for the next few corners here. He's just got to sit in and follow and try and get him down the Dottinger if he's going to. He can't afford to make a mistake, though. That's the problem when you're following somebody so close. You cannot afford to make a mistake, and he cannot afford to make the mistake. He has to make sure he can bury all of these next complex of turns and get onto that Dottinger and then give him a run at the end, because that's the only way he's going to be able to do it now.
Solomon's back to pit lane, by the way, on this last lap, so we'll check in on him at the end of the race, of course. But Hightower has got to stay close now through this section. Krautfield just in front of him has not got a good enough run through the Stefan Bellafest here, but there's no chance through in towards Schwedenkreuz. It is, in towards Schwabenschweitz, I should say. There's too fast of a right-hander coming up, then in towards the left. Now the Kleiner Carousel, the smaller of the two carousels. This is where it went wrong for Krautfield last time round. He's a bit high again there, but Hightower wasn't on the inside and he wouldn't have been able to capitalise even if he was. So this is the moment now. He's got to stay close through Gauvenkopf. If he gets this wrong, his chances of winning are going to be over, and Krautfield's going to get away and survive to the end here. Through the final corner. It's a good run from Hightower, a very good run. It almost might be too good, as he's going to pull alongside very soon here. And he's going to go to the left-hand side. He wants this inside for the Bilstein Bridge left-hander. I think he could be slingshotting himself through too quickly here. Krautfield's pulling away just to make sure he goes through. If he stays alongside like this, it might play into the hands of Hightower. Here comes Krautfield again, though. The BMW's quick in a straight line. He's using the side draft. He's going to be chased across the road now by Hightower. In towards the bridge they go. This is going to be close. Neither of them are going to back out of this, surely, as they go into the final corners. Krautfield needing the win. Hightower needs it as well. They can't make contact. They managed to keep it on the road. In towards the braking zone they go. Krautfield on the inside line. He can't shut the door on Hightower just yet. He's still alongside in the Mercedes. Oh, that was close. But Krautfield comes out the other side, and he's going to win here in the GT3s. Just ahead of Jason Hightower, who can't quite take his second race win of the season. It's Evan Krautfield who wins for the third time this season, and he keeps his championship hopes alive with a great win and a great defence of that victory here in these last few moments. Meanwhile, further behind, the battle for fourth place between Dean Diltz and David Anders will go on just in front of Pat Mace, who has to stamp on the brakes there just to avoid in the AM class. It will be the AM winner here today.
Ooh,
It's Dilt
they've all
goes
got it
wide,
wrong.
and he will slip through. William Dave Hernandez, he will get an extra place on the BMW. That's great news for Pat Mace. He wins in the AM class today. He keeps his championship hopes alive as well with a top 5.
Yeah, and on that lap as well, Dave Moe and Rick Putnam had a coming. What looks like they had a coming together, or they both made a mistake practically near enough at the same time, and they have unfortunately both gone round. But again, we'll have a look very, very shortly here once more. But great action for Krautfeld and Hightower there. We knew it was going to come down to that final run, and it definitely did. And them guys did an incredible job keeping that on the track side by side through Tiergarten in the last few corners. Awesome.
Absolutely fantastic. Another last lap finish for us here this season, and they've been fantastic so far. I mean, I still don't have really any explanation as to why Hightower was so slow through the first part and so quick through the last part. But anyway, it created a very exciting finish in the end, and Krautwald just about hangs on. So that's great news for him in the championship. As you say, Dave Mull and John Amico still yet to make their way to the line, and there are plenty of other drivers in between still yet to make their way to the line as well. Dan Kosick at 10th place. Scott Sadler will be 11th, by the way, and so this will become one of his drop weeks by the looks of things here. Pat Mace keeping things alive going into the final race, but effectively he needs another race like this where he finishes up inside the top 5 and Sadler finishes even further down than 11th if he wants to really win this championship from here.
Sadler might be a little bit upset with himself because he was quick. It was quick in practice, just couldn't quite get it right in the actual race itself. But, you know, it's all right doing it once, but you need to do it. Make sure you do it in the next 2 sessions as well, unfortunately, for Scott. So, bit of a shame, but, you know, he's, where is he? 4th in class at the moment. So I'm sure he'll be a little bit more happy. Putnam and Mole, as I say, we'll have a look back at that as Cabay comes over the line in 12th.
He completes the race with some good speed, actually. But not quite the result that he was hoping for. So I'm just looking through the point standings at the moment, trying to find ones with the 3 drop weeks involved. But at the moment, I can only find ones with 2 for now, which is a bit puzzling, to be honest. So as far as the information that is in the Discord suggests, it means you have to take 3 of your drop rounds from the races before Duck Week, which we've now all had. But that's not happened here for this one. But anyway, I'll get into where that. We'll just take the points at the face value with what they are, and I'll tell you where we are in terms of those points in a few moments' time. Once we've gone through all the replays and so on, because it does set up Duck Week to be very exciting indeed. Dylan Hesselink doesn't look like he's going to finish the race. By the looks of things, Stephen Johnson will finish it a lap down also. And yes, one lap down. And Anthony Solomon will be DNF'd. Evan Krautwald wins the race then ahead of Jason Hightower, with Corey Stas finishing in 3rd place. Dean Diltz and Pat Mace round out the top 5. Diltz holding on from the 2 behind him, by the way, and Pat Mace winning in the AM class. Dave Hernandez finishing in 6th place, with Rick Putnam in 7th. Houston Elliott, Tim Washoe and Dan Kosick round out the top 10. Scott Saller finishes 11th, then of Steve Coubet, with Christopher Heron, Dave Mull, John Amico rounding out those on the lead lap. Stanley Solomon was 1 down after retiring on the last lap. Dylan Hesselink crossed the line, but he was a lap down. Stephen Johnson retired, and so was a lap down as well. So there are your results. And we will take a look at the last few replays here of this race. Just a couple of things that we missed towards the end of the race on this replay run-through. This is Scott Sadler. We saw him picking himself out of the wall, but how did he get there? Very long slide through the first part, then clips the curb on the inside, then slips around the other side and goes for a spin.
Yeah, he does on that one. Dave Mole is here as well. We saw, obviously, how he went in. We presumed he changed the tyres, but is he going to bump the curb? Oh, and around, unfortunately, that Lamborghini goes. Now, one of the things I did want to pick up was the Anthony Solomon, and then I want to look at Dave Mole and Rick Putnam, but it does look like Solomon just slowed down. I can't actually find anything that goes with that, unfortunately, unless he ran out of fuel. Possible.
That's the only thing I'm thinking as well. I can't really think of any other reason as to why he would retire excuse me, on the last lap like that. Mull was really suffering on this last lap, as you can see, overheating, wet weather tyres, and he was spinning around quite often. Rick Putnam eventually finished in 7th place here today, which is actually a pretty good result for him. And he avoided a drop week, but he didn't have it without problems. Went for a spin through the small carousel, and he's lucky he didn't get beached down there.
Yeah, he is at the moment, but he managed to get it through. But yeah, that's the last few incidents that we've missed there out of this one.
Yeah, so that's it for the GT3 round of the tail racing ring runners. According to the standings that have come out after this one, they sort of contradict the rules, which suggests that you're supposed to have 3 drop weeks before duck week. Apparently, there's only 2, according to these points. So Corey Stas is 1 point ahead of Evan Crapwood at the top. Rick Putnam's 1 point behind him. Pat LaBrosse is 1 point behind him. So the top 4 covered by 3 points going into the last round. Effectively a winner-takes-all kind of round, if that is to be believed. We'll get some confirmation on that, of course, ahead of the final week at Duck Week, and we'll bring that to you as quickly as possible after it has happened. I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside James Parfitt. Big thanks to everybody who's watched here today for the GT3 tail racing ring runners. It's been very fun and weather affected as well. We'll be back for Duck Week very soon. The final round taking place on the North Cypher, with the car to be selected half an hour prior to the session. We hope to see you then, but for now it's goodbye from the North Cypher, and see you at Duck Week.